Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. Um, I am extremely tired from this week. It was absolutely chaotic. Um, but I wanted to really talk to you guys about a very important thing to me, and that is metal. Um, as you can tell, I'm wearing a Frozen shirt, and obviously, Frozen is an incredibly metal thing. But that's besides the point. I've been a metalhead now for 7 years, and I like to share my love of metal to everybody. So, something that's really important to me is I'm going to start off by talking about this record. It's by one of my favorite bands. They're called Disturbed. I'm sure that you've maybe have heard of them, maybe not. But just to give you some background about Disturbed, um, they were formed in Chicago in the late 1990s. They originally were called Brawl, but then when David Draymond auditioned for the band, they decided to change their name to Disturbed because it sounded more fitting to them and it would give them a wider audience. So I'm going to start off by showing you all this is what the CD looks like. And I have the booklet right here. And the booklet has the different members of the band. So you have Dan Donegan, who is one of the lead guitarists. And then you also have David Draymond, the lead singer. And you also have, let's see if I can try to move this around. This is Mike Lindgren, who I believe is still in the band. This record came out like in 2000. This was their first ever record called The Sickness. So I think the band members have changed since this record first came out. I think that Dan Donegan, David Draymond, and Mike Lindgren are all still in the band. I think that Fuzz is the only member. I don't think that that's in the band anymore. So there you have it. Inside is just the names of the songs right here. And one of my favorite songs off of this record is probably The Game. Just because of the beats, and also it just sounds the most intense out of all of them. But the song that almost everybody knows off of this record is Down with the Sickness, the very iconic Disturbed song, with David Draymond's evil laugh that's become a staple of the song. The reason why Disturbed is such an interesting band is because when they first came out, they were lumped into the whole new metal category with Korn and Limp Bizkit, but their influences are not so much rap and hip hop as they are reggae. And that's what David Draymond has said in a lot of interviews. He doesn't want to be referred to as a new metal artist. He just considers himself to be just a metal artist in general. But a lot of his influences with his vocals and with the songs come from reggae. And that's especially noticeable on their later records. You can definitely tell that David Draymond's voice has a reggae tone to it for sure. So another song that I really love off of this record is Stupefy. It has a sort of a techno vibe in the very beginning. And you can definitely hear more of David Draymond's reggae vocals in that song. I think when they first started out, they were pretty reggae influenced. And in their later records, they're still reggae influenced, but I think that they're a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more intense in their later records. I think when they first started out, they were trying to appeal to the mainstream, trying to get a type of sound that everybody could universally enjoy. But again, you're not always going to get that initial you're not always going to be initially accepted, and I think it took them a little while to be accepted. A lot of the music at the time in the early 2000s was a lot of pop music, and a lot of boy bands were still prominent then as well. And I think what made Disturbed so unique is they came out at a time where it was a lot of pop and not a whole lot of good rock music. A lot of the post grunge bands, if you will, were forming, like Creed and Puddle of Mud. And say what you will about Nickelback, but Nickelback actually does have some pretty good songs. That's besides the point, though. They were technically part of the whole post grunge movement, but there weren't really a whole lot of just straight up hard rock and heavy metal bands. And then when Disturbed came along, they sort of helped to reignite that. Cornel and Biscuit were definitely still popular at the time, but I think that they were starting to sort of get overplayed, and I think people were tired and needed something different, something interesting, and Disturbed definitely brought that. One of the other things that I love about this band is David Draymond, the lead singer, is Jewish, and I'm Jewish as well, and that is definitely something that I can heavily relate to with them, and also just the values that the band has, I can relate to as well. Their songs have always been very meaningful, but also very catchy as well. I got my friend Ethan into more Disturbed too. He knew a few songs by them, but I sort of helped to expand his horizons a little bit by introducing him to more Disturbed songs. And they're just one of the, I think, the few metal bands that really, they're incapable of making bad music. They just have so many great hits. And Disturbed has been around for, I think, at this point, about 17 or 18 years. So they've been around for a pretty long time. And most other metal bands coming out when they did have not lasted as long as they have. So they've had a lot of staying power. And lastly, something I wanted to mention here in the booklet is the very iconic laughing symbol, or demon, rather, in the booklet. I think their mascot is called the Guy, and I think this was the very first appearance of the Guy. They needed something to make them stand out, and so just like Iron Maiden has Eddie the zombie. Disturbed has the Guy, which I think is pretty cool. I wish that Metallica had a mascot. I think that would be fantastic. Fun fact about Disturbed and Metallica, I think sometime in like the mid 2000s, Disturbed did go on tour with Metallica. And that would have been an amazing, amazing concert to have gone to. So I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing more about Disturbed and also hearing about the few songs that are off of this record. I wanted to mention one thing. I know that earlier I had said that Disturbed is pretty reggae based, but there is one song on here that you can definitely sense the hip hop and rap influence, and that's the Drop in Plates song, which is track number 11. It sounds like David Draymond is straight up rapping over the hard rock tone of the guitar. And that's really, I guess, the only sort of straight hip hop rap influence that I see in Disturbed music was from that particular song. So yeah, I hope, like I said, that you guys enjoyed that. And please comment, like, and I hope that you all have a great Friday night and a great weekend.